going on, guys? So we're both just out for, again, our nightly walk. The wife and I both. Got my new setup, like we were talking about. Nice fancy microphone and all that kind of stuff, so hopefully you guys can hear me better. Maybe a clearer picture. And hopefully this time I don't get rained out, because like yesterday, I told you guys it was sprinkling a little bit, but it didn't stop. And when I got about a quarter mile from the house, it decided to completely wash me out. So I was soaking wet by the time I got home. Shoes, everything were drenched. But like I said, can't let that stop you. I like going for walks in the wintertime too. I don't know how much the wife will be with you on those ones, but the weather doesn't usually bother me unless it's really, really bad. I won't walk through 3 foot of snow, though, I can tell you that. So I was talking to my wife and seeing maybe what topic we should cover tonight. She mentioned maybe talk about, should women work out the same as men? If you guys caught that in the last video I did, I kind of brushed across that a little bit when I was talking about working out hard and things like that. We'll see just how tired my arm gets from holding this thing up. Help me with my biceps. But anyways, to make a short answer, should women work out the same as men? Yes and no. Yes, they should do the exact same movements as men do. There isn't anything in a gym that women cannot do that men do, okay? Whether it's bench press, squatting, deadlifting, overhead pressing, all those things, those what they call the 4 compound movements. And most gym bros only count 3, which I think is stupid. You're really not a gym bro if you don't do the 4. And that's overhead press, deadlifting, bench press, and squatting. Now, I'm going to give you a hot take and a very unpopular opinion. But the least important of all those is the bench press. Now, I know that's the first question anybody asks when they see that you work out, is how much you bench, bro. And that is not a true measurement of strength. And again, like I told you before, I don't care the opinions of other people. Now, I care about guys and gals that have been doing this a long time, that have a lot more knowledge in this world, the world of lifting heavy and everything that goes with it. But I can also disagree with them on things. Okay? How often in real life are you laying down on your back and pushing something straight away from your chest? Doesn't happen that often. But how often are you getting underneath something heavy that sits straight across your back or your shoulders and could be anywhere from 200 to 600 pounds? The squat, right? How often are you picking up a completely straight barbell or something similar in life that could have 2, 3, 4, 500 pounds on it? So none of this stuff is necessarily completely functional or transferable, but what it is it will make you stronger in everyday life. If anything is going to be more relative to how you live your life, it would be strongman training. All those different things they do in those type of competitions are based off of everyday chores. That's how that kind of stuff came to be. If you know your history about how, way centuries back, what the peasants would do is their basic farming jobs, they turned into games and events at the festivals they would throw, basically your harvest festivals, where everybody in their community, colony, whatever you want to call it, would get together for like a 1-day, even 1-week event, break bread, share things, different stuff like that, and have these events for both male and female. Now, back then, obviously, the females really didn't participate much in the strength games. They had dance-offs, they had cook-offs, they had things like that, right? But yeah, we do live in more modern times, and I will tell you this though, those women back then were a whole lot stronger than a lot of men are today, because they were out working the farms just as much as the men. They just didn't necessarily participate in the events because it wasn't considered ladylike, which I'm not blasting any culture. You can't look backwards and insult them for everything they did because they don't have some of the knowledge that we have now, right? But that's for another video. So to get to my main point, should women train the same as men? And I'm just going to ask my boss. Should they?
Yes.
See, I guess that's the end of the video. She said so. Um, yeah, they should. Any movement that you see a male doing in the gym, unless there's some kind of physical incapability that you might have, something that's keeping you from doing a specific movement that specific way, then no, you wouldn't necessarily do that movement. But it's going to be the same for men, right? Uh, Will, sooner or later I'll show you some videos of the past where my wife doing heavy deadlifts, um, heavy overhead press, heavy bench press. We don't train that way specifically anymore, but she was up to 210 pounds on her bench press. And, you know, I'll keep saying this, there's a lot of men that can't do that. And I'm going to say this too, that's to their shame. Yeah, I said bench press isn't necessarily important, but it does prove the fact that she's strong. All right? So, ladies, I just want to tell you straight up, you can do anything in the gym. You don't need to be intimidated. You don't need to be shy. Um, you don't need to hold back or any of that kind of stuff. What you need is a good program, a program that implements progressive overload, which is basically every week, every session, when you go in there, you should be improving a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to have bad weeks, right? It could be lack of sleep. It could be you had a really bad week. The kids were crazy. Whatever it is, the husband's been stressed out. Everybody in the household is sick. I mean, that happens every year in Michigan, right? There's a lot of things that can make you think your progress is being hindered, but it's not. You know, if you hit the gym one week and you have a really good, super strong week, everything's just clicking, you hit a PR, a personal record, on your squat or deadlift or whatever it was you're doing, you know, you gained 10 pounds on it, and then you go in the following week and you're weaker on that movement. You know, your head will play tricks on you. You'll think, you know, what's going wrong? What am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong, okay? You didn't all of a sudden get weaker in one week. That's not how this works, all right? It's kind of the same as when you step on the scale and you're trying to cut weight, and week after week you're dropping and you're measuring your weight every day, right? And one day you step on there and you gain 3 pounds. That's not 3 pounds of fat, okay? It takes a long time to actually put on weight, whether it's bad weight or good weight. So don't let the scale mess with your head either. And that can be another topic. There's a lot of topics I can see I'm going to have to cover. And again, this is for the folks, they're just everyday folks that, you know, might not have a lot of money for a coach, might not have the time to do all the research into these things, but you're scrolling through Instagram and this influencer trainer says this, and then the next reel another one says completely opposite, calls that guy an idiot, says you're stupid for listening to him, you know. Then you'll have, and believe it or not, it's mostly men, say stupid things like women shouldn't train like men. I literally had to shut a podcast off because it made my blood pressure rise so high one time when he said not only should women not train like men, but husband and wives, men and women shouldn't train together. That's stupid. Me and my wife have been training together for years. We might not be doing exactly the same routine. She's got different things she needs to work on to get ready for her bodybuilding show than I do. But we're still in there at the same time. We're still hanging out with each other. We still spot each other, hand each other weights, different things like that, right? And there are times when we have the same thing on the same day, and so we'll do it together. Maybe lat pull downs or cable rows or curls or something like that. Even barbell rows, we'll share the same rack sometimes. All right? It's a good bonding time. Yeah, there's times where we probably get on each other's nerves, but that's going to happen with any gym partner. I like my wife being there. I like her watching me because it's an ego thing for a lot of men, especially me. One of the best things about being in a gym is it has other people there watching you, and which is going to push you because you don't want to be lazy in front of other people. So the same for females. My wife is extremely competitive. You know, when she starts catching close to me on something, she's trying to pass me. She's just as stubborn. And when I see her getting close to something, even if I have an injury, I'll break my arm basically just to make sure she doesn't get too close. But all this goes to show is that just because you're a female doesn't mean you can't train the same type of exercises, the same type of movements, and with the same intensity that's relative to who you are and where you at in the stage of your lifting experience in life. Okay. Secondly, something that I think is important to talk on is this idea that things like just dumbbells or just kettlebells or for every type of workout that there is. The problem with that is to get a complete set of dumbbells to match your progressive overload is going to cost you a lot of money. And most people, most regular people, don't have a home gym and they don't want 10 sets, 15 sets of dumbbells laying around their house. That's basically what you're going to have because the more you lift, the stronger you're going to get. And if you continue to stay at the same weight and only do more reps all the time, you are stagnating your progress. All right, this is all about progressive overload, and that's measured in adding more weight to the bar or heavier dumbbell, or adding another rep or two the next session you come in. So I would encourage men and women both, get in the gym. And I'm going to keep preaching this, all right? You need to get into the gym. If you don't know what you're doing, get a hold of us. We're more than happy to help you. These aren't advertisements, but nobody's really going to know what we're trying to do if I don't tell them, right? And like I said, from here on out, we will be charging fees depending upon what you want, but trust me, everybody's going to be able to afford it. I don't care just if you're starting out in your job or whatever it is. We're going to meet you where you are, okay? Because like I said, this isn't about me making money. I got a good job. My wife has a part-time job. It's got nothing to do with that. But people value what they pay for, and that's the only reason, one of the only reasons that we're going to charge, okay? A lot of time does go into figuring out a program for a person, having the phone calls, doing the form checks for them, you know, when you send videos. And ladies, my wife will do form checks with you if that's what makes you more comfortable. We'll do them both together. We'll meet you where you are, we'll meet what you need, and we'll help you out. But you know, I thought this was a good topic. My wife suggested it. Women can do the same thing as men. All right, don't ever think that you can't. A gym is a gym for both genders, plain and simple. So with that, happy Father's Day to all you dads, and any of the moms that are in there that are wondering, can I get into a gym and lift like my husband does? You absolutely can. Have a good night.